Thank you, everybody, for joining the Bass Funk Podcast. Oh, good Lord. Today, we are produced by the one and only Producer Snafu. Ben.
Not true, dude. There's another Producer Snafu on YouTube.
Is there?
I think so.
Is that the guy who wrote the How to Make Breakcore video?
No.
How are you, Ben? How are you?
I'm great, dude. How are you, man?
Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry. So this guy who's imitating you, tell me about him.
I have no idea. I think I forget, but like I just like sometimes, like once in a while, I'll search myself via YouTube or
you gotta
or Google. Like I used to do that all the time. Now I just kind of do it maybe once every 4 or 6 months.
Yeah. Well,
but, I came across this dude, and I think I forgot what he posts, but it's Producer Snafu. I'm not about to tell him to not have the same name as me. That's he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
And unless he's trying to pretend that he's me, then there might be some confrontation. But as far as it's not I'm the only person that's ever thought of that name. So
it's funny because back in the day you would Google yourself to see how successful you're getting online, but now you Google yourself to make sure you're gonna get fired or some shit, right? Okay. So you have a long history. You've been in the game since the first time I remember you was on Soulseek and on Myspace. So this was probably fucking 2002, 2001. Is that about it?
So MySpace, I think the era, from what I recall, just blossomed around 2005. That's 2004ish, 2005. But as far as me being active in the breakcore room, I'd probably have to say most likely around 2004ish, 2005ish, maybe even 2003.
Yeah. So let's. Okay, I definitely want to talk about this. I think it's super important for the listeners to know what Soulseek was. But let's talk about your beginnings. Or is this? Oh yeah, that's right. It still exists, right? Let's talk about your history. How did you get into music?
So I got into music simply by I need to articulate myself, and I wanted to do so ever since I guess when I was in 3rd grade. I had a music lesson, or no, it wasn't a music lesson. It was a music session in class, and they gave us recorders. And so by the time 1990,
oh, those white recorder things.
Yes, indeed. So around 1990, around 1990, I purchased my first instrument, which was a recorder. And then from there, I kind of sold it to my cousin because at the time she was really fixated on Power Rangers. So my uncle was like, "Hey, Benji, I'll give you $5."
Oh wow!
If you, yeah,
Green Ranger.
Yeah. So exactly. She it was funny because she wouldn't play the tune, but she would basically hold it up to her mouth and go doo, 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 doo.
Oh wow!
So that was my first experience with an instrument, and I have no idea as to why I sold it, but I remember playing songs like Cucaracha and Mickey Mouse Club, and Mary Had a Little Lamb, and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
All the bangers.
Exactly. And so I think maybe around when I was 14, I got interested in wanting to make music, possibly 13. But it started off with my best friend, Michael. He now goes by the alias of Neomono, and he used to go by the alias of Holloway. And I've known him since 4th grade. So that was in 1990, and around 1990, I'm assuming 4. I spent probably a summer at his house just playing Doom. And we just kind of hung out and just really bonded. And at that time, we really liked Kroq. And we used to call the radio station and just ask him to play The Man Who Sold the World from Nirvana's Unplugged. And
is that a station in California, Kroq?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Kroq, KROQ, 106.7 in LA. And at that time, I was getting into rock. Mind you, as far as my music, instrument, experience, there's definitely another story about that. But as far as electronic music, I got introduced to that around 1992. But I guess we can talk about that later. But as far as instruments, My next instrument was basically like my best friend calling me up and saying like, hey, dude, check this out. And like, he started playing like what sounded like a guitar. And I was like, whoa, what is that, dude? I was like, he's like, I'm playing like this off a shoebox. And I was like, no way. I was like, I have to make one.
So what do you mean, a shoebox? What?
Yeah, it was like a shoebox guitar. So basically,
oh, wow.
what he did, he basically took like a shoebox and then like cut a hole. And then what he did was he took rubber bands and like stapled them, one on top and one on the bottom. And he would like pluck the strings and like, just like fuck around with it. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, let's start a band. So, I had always wanted to start a band. I always wanted to like, be on stage, and I always wanted to like articulate myself, but I had never really composed anything. And I didn't think I had done so until like maybe, I can't recall, maybe, maybe like 1990 or not 1990. I'm sorry. 1999. So like I got my first guitar like around, when I was 14, I think in ninth grade. So like that was like 1995, and I would bring it to school, and I would also learn how to play and sing at the same time.
Oh, cool.
So when I was like learning how to play guitar, I was also like trying to like learn how to sing too as well. And so after that, around 1999, I was 18, and funny story, dude, is that like here in Paris, California, I guess Dave Mustaine's cousin lived in Paris, dude, and I guess at the time, dude, unfortunately, like he was I guess he was a drug addict, dude, and I didn't know it. So like, I remember like for some reason, like I guess like he was pitching me a guitar, and I was like, yeah, you have a guitar, like at the time, like I wanted to like be around musicians, I wanted to be around creativity, I wanted to be around sounds and instruments and all that jazz that came with like being a musician. So when he told me that he had a guitar to sell me, I was like, I'd love to check it out. So I remember going to his room, and he had like a bass cabinet, and he had like these speakers, these tall ass speakers, and they were like they were custom speakers, and they were glittery. They were like red and glittery, and it was basically like part of a PA system. So my dad bought that off of him. All of that for $300 rather than just selling me the guitar for $75.
Okay.
So I was really thankful for that, dude. So my dad was like, supportive of like my interest in music, but they never really encouraged me. So do
you think Dave Mustaine probably touched that stuff?
I have no idea. But the sad part about that is that like that dude's wife came to my house, and she like was crying, dude, and she was like, hey, she's like David like was selling stuff because like he was addicted to drugs, and that's kind of like a family heirloom, and like it really means a lot to like the family, and I was wondering if I could buy that off you for like $2,000.
Oh wow.
And $2,000 is a lot, dude, but for some reason, like, I was like, I can't. My dad bought that for me. Like, that's like my first instrument. I could have bought a fucking new guitar, a fucking computer, and all that shit.
You could have bought 6 PlayStation 3s.
Totally, dude. And I wasn't thinking about that. I just had like the sentimental value that like, this is my first instrument for my dad. Like, he gave this to me. And I guess that was worth more than $2,000 for me at the time. But in retrospect, I would have been like, yeah, dude, totally. Like, here.
Brutal. Brutal.
Unfortunately at the time, like, I guess I just.
Do you still have it?
Like, how fucked up that was. I'm sorry? Do
you still have it?
I do, actually.
My God. Yeah. After this story, you could clip this, put it on YouTube, put like Facebook ads to it, and then sell it on eBay for like $10,000.
Well, if it like, if I'm able to get in contact with that guy, I would definitely be more than like willing to like give it to him, dude, like for free, I'm not using it. So, if that's possible, that'd be cool.
So how old were you at this point? Is this around like when you discovered like breakcore and stuff like that? Or is it that a little bit? Because this is like 2000 then, right?
Yes. That was like around 1999. And I played guitar for like about 3 years, like consistently. And then I stopped playing guitar once I found out you can make music on a computer, which was around 2000. Well, I started producing in 2001. Yeah. And so, I had always liked, abrasive music and just like hard stuff. And so my very first rave experience was in 1999, and before that, my I guess previous like rave culture experiences were surprisingly enough like at 8th grade dances, dude, 7th grade dances.
Really, they played rave music at your grade 7 dances?
They did, dude.
Oh
they totally
God.
did, dude. They played deep house. I mean,
really?
See, in Southern California, dude, we kind of had like this like rich culture of like
Christ, I got Achy Breaky Heart and fucking Bananarama. And it was like 1996. It's like, dude, your records are a decade old.
It was like 1992, it was like 1993, 1994. And around this era, like Southern California was kind of just like wrapped up in the culture of identifying as kind of like a gangster. If you weren't a gangster, like in the Latino culture in Southern California, you were either like kickback, which is basically like affiliated with like, you know, gangsters, but like you don't gangbang.
Mm-hmm.
You were a houser, which is basically somebody that went to like ditching parties and like, you know, raves and like danced and battled.
Okay.
There was
what do you mean battled? Like rap battle?
Yeah. Nah, I mean I'm talking about like breakdance battling.
Oh wow.
Like deep house.
Oh shit.
There was what are they called? Rebels. There was rebels that like deep house, and those guys kind of like dressed up like dudes that like would, I mean like the appearance of James Dean. So they would wear stuff like, you know, like leather jackets and jeans, Levi's, and they would wear like Harley Davidson boots, and they would always have like a Harley Davidson belt buckle.
Really?
So anyways, yeah, dude, also along with that culture was tag bangers. There was taggers. There's people that can tag crews. I remember over here in Southern California, specifically around 1993, 1994, there was this tagging crew called BN, which stood for Busted Nuts.
Wow.
Or Bad News or Brown Nation. I don't think they necessarily went for Brown Nation, but people kind of just like stretched it out. But like they had like the best like write-ups in, I guess, like where I was located in Paris. I didn't really venture out and remember like seeing other people's tags. Like I'm pretty sure if I went to LA, I'd be like, this shit like blows the fuck out of like, you know, whatever is in Paris.
Mm.
But BN had like the most notoriety and popularity. And so you also had party crews. And so my first exposure with party crews was basically like around 1993, I think. My sister was 3 years older than me, and she was in 8th grade or 7th grade at the time. And she would go to school with like a bunch of like deep house DJs, dude. Like these kids would like, you know, be collecting like deep house records and making mixes and selling them on on tape. And I remember my sister bringing home like like a rave, like, you know, deep house like a mix, and it had a Sonic the Hedgehog remix. And I remember,
oh wow,
particularly fond of that, and thinking like, oh, like fuck, this is so cool. Like, like what the hell is this? This is great, you know. And so I had always appreciated the whole like rave aspect of like electronic music at that era, because like for me, like it seemed like even though I had never been to a rave, I knew for some reason that if you were to go to a rave, you can dance however you want to, and no one's going to judge you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
especially
like,
back then, you know? Yeah,
especially. And even now, dude, like, you know, you go to like a party or whatever, no one's like laughing at somebody unless like you're a fucking asshole, dude.
Mm.
You know? And so I, you know, remember like, you know, just like being in 5th grade and go, like, dude, I got exposed to that stuff in 5th grade. So I was playing these dances, and they'd be playing deep house. I forgot about that, dude. So that was like 1992. Crazy. All right. So I didn't get exposed to like breakcore until like I think 2000, and that's when I got introduced to like Nas and Blue, and that was kind of I guess synonymous with like, you know, speedcore and hardcore, because at the time I was really into hardcore. That's what got me into producing, was like I wanted to emulate like, you know, the badass sounds I was hearing from Nas and Blue, and basically be my own version of Nas and Blue. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make music like that, and so that's when my journey started, dude. I started with Churig. Surprisingly enough,
what's Churig?
Churig is this old sequencer, this music sequencer. Used to be like a burgundy and like pastel green like interface, and you basically had like about like 16 steps, and you were able to make patterns and set these patterns up. It was almost kind of like FlStudio,
Okay.
But FlStudio was like that, but better.
Huh. I'm surprised I never heard of it. Wow. Turing.
Yeah, Turing, dude.
Cool. Because I remember like Hammerhead was sort of like
Exactly, it was part of Hammerhead, dude.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was like similar to that. But then they also had Tuna, I think. I think they had Tuna Fish. I don't know. You can look it up, dude. It's there.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
and
you started working with this, and you were. Is that when Snafu was born, or this was like something else before you turned into Producer Snafu?
Okay, so I guess we're heading into like Soulseek territory here now. So by the time I got online, Napster was pretty much useless.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to like download Metallica albums just to see if I could download Metallica albums.
Yeah.
And
it was like it was at the point where they would rename it like Matulika.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was trying to come up with different names to see if I can like, uncode like, yeah, exactly. Because, I was trying to come up.
Yeah.
Be like, fuck you, Lars.
Yeah.
So anyways, I had met this friend, his name, I forget his name. God damn it. Anyways, his name is Wayne. Wayne was a badass dude who was into jungle, and I would hit him up online, and we had actually attended Coachella. I went to Coachella, I think 2000 or 2001 when Square Pusher played, and unfortunately at the time I wasn't aware of who Square Pusher was.
Oh wow!
So I missed that opportunity, which I'm pretty bummed about. But anyways, this dude knew of that type of music, and I just was over my head at the time. I was just like all about hardcore. I didn't really care about jungle at the time, and if it wasn't like hardcore, I didn't really care about it. But I also still like drum and bass. I just wasn't really exposed to it that much, so I didn't know that there was going to be drum and bass there. But anyways, what the fuck was I talking about?
You went to Coachella because Wayne, I presume, is the guy that showed you Soulseek.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.
I'm a professional at this now.
Great, man. That's great.
Don't worry.
So basically, Wayne was like, "Hey, dude," he's like, "if you're a producer, he's like, you might want to hop on this program called Soulseek." He's like, "It's basically like the Napster for producers." And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You can find samples on there and like VSTs." And I was like, "I'm fucking there, dude."
Really? That's a weird sell because I went there because I was like, you could actually get a full CD and it's not all fucked up. It came with like album art and it was like high bit rate and stuff. That's what I was like into Soulseek, but I guess there was VSTs and stuff on there, right?
Bruh. Soulseek was originally meant so that way other musicians could share other music with other musicians. Dude.
Was it? I thought it was the IDM mailing list. I thought they wanted to share like Reflex Record stuff or whatever.
Nah, dude. It was all about other producers sharing music with other producers, dude. And that's how I always saw it. That's why I was always in people's faces like, "Hey, man, download my music, dude. Fucking download my music."
Yeah. Well, man, so you were there all the time. Like you were Soulseek.
What's funny is that like I was because like I was agoraphobic, dude, and I never like really left the house. I would work with my dad, but I basically have like PTSD, anxiety, and that has always fucked with my ambition to basically like find a job, dude, and to I know it sounds fucked up, but it's really crazy.
No, man, it's like that stuff before, like 20, 30 years ago, no one gave a care about it, but now it's mental health issues and anxiety issues and stuff like that are the norm. It's cool.
And as to why you've never, I guess, seen like a major Producer Snafu release is because I've never been confident about sending demos to like a record label, dude. Like it's always usually been like someone like has approached me and be like, "Hey, you want to release a record for us?" I'm like, yeah. Sure.
But at the same time, though, I think you're more well known than people that have major releases. Some people, like I know you, like a lot of people know who you are, man.
I am very lucky to have the notoriety that I do, but also I burned a lot of bridges, dude. I was an asshole, man. Like I wasn't really self-aware of like how I was acting and how I came across and how I treated people and how I was being treated. I was very like envious of other producers because I felt confident. Although like I wasn't confident, I felt confident in the fact that like I was like, I can make something better than that. Let me make something better than that. And then I do it, but it doesn't sound as good as them, but I still like it because I made it. I don't know. But so
Soulseek, sorry.
Wayne Wayne introduced me to Soulseek, and I forgot I think my screen name at the time when I first started was like OG Korn, because at the time I was super into Korn. I was
got
fucking
the life,
obsessed
man.
with Korn.
Got the life.
Yeah, I was basically like your perfect demographic for like a Korn fan, being that like I had a fuck up upbringing and like all that bullshit. That came along being like a Korn fan. So
and dreadlocks.
And dreadlocks, there you go. All right, so I basically would make music, and I would share it with people. And this one time, I forgot which. I think I was in the main lobby, dude, and I was trying to like talk to people about hardcore. And I was asking people like, because a lot of the times, dude, there wasn't really that many producers on Soulseek, and I was looking for other producers, dude. And I would go into like the lobby, and I would try to find like other producers and try to share music. And this guy by the name of I think his name was like the Rogue Boatman, dude. This is the guy that basically birthed me.
Okay.
So like around 2001, I came across this dude named the Rogue Boatman. I think he also went by like Oxalotl or something like that. But he was the first person to show interest in my music, and he wanted me to like basically do like a net release for him. Basically, I think it was like a 2-track EP or something like that for like his what was that old website, like something city?
GeoCities? Or
was it GeoCities? Like where people could like have like their own like profile or something and like host like a couple files.
There was mp3.com, there was Reverb Nation,
No. I'm referring to like where you could have like your own profile and like have GIFs and shit. Like it was like old internet like shit. I don't it was like an old like I guess like internet like featured company where you could basically host a couple files.
Cool.
And basically have like a bio and like, links and whatever. So anyways, he wanted me on his net label, and I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, all right, well, you have to come up with the name. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I'm going to go with Manifesto. I didn't know what it meant, dude. I just thought it sounded fucking cool.
Yeah, man.
He's like, nah, he's like, I don't think you want to be named Manifesto. There's already a guy named Manifesto. He said, he's kind of an asshole. He's like, you might want to pick something else. And I was like, all right, Snafu. So the history of Snafu, basically, like, when I was at work, like around 2000 and maybe 1999. Are you familiar with the MTV host Kennedy?
Oh, didn't she fuck Trent Reznor?
I have no idea, but
she's on Fox News. She's on Fox News now, and she wrote a book.
Yeah.
And she hates Courtney Love. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. She fucked Trent Reznor.
Yeah. Oh, nice, dude. Good for
I think
her.
so. Yeah.
So, I always liked her, dude. She was like basically like
I have no idea who she is.
Girl.
In Canada, we got all the music videos, but we had like a Canadian Much Music, and as you could imagine,
Much Music, yes, dude. Yeah,
it was just Canadian stuff. Like doesn't even come close to like,
dude.
But you guys had
Korn bootleggers would always like record like I guess like the Korn videos that would come on Much Music, and that's how I would get like my
that's cool
access to Korn. Yeah, because they wouldn't play those videos like in the US for some reason.
Oh, really?
Unless it was like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Kennedy was like the face of like the alternative girl in like the early 90s when grunge was about, and
her and Kurt Loder as I recall.
Yes,
right?
Kurt Loder. and what was his name? John Nathan, I forget. Norm something, I forget. Anyways, she used to be a DJ on Kroq, and I remember this one time where like I guess like the music stopped. She's like, sorry about that, guys. She's like, we just experienced a snafu. And she's like, if you don't know what a snafu means, it means a state of utter confusion. And I was like,
oh, cool.
Oh, cool. I was like, the snafu is a cool word. I was like, I always feel like I'm in a state of utter confusion.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is my whole life. Hashtag snafu.
So like, I came up with the name Snafu. That's had always been like a second, like, option for like an alias. And so I was like, I'm going to go with Snafu. He's like, that's cool, mate. But like, he's like, you're not like, he's like, how about you call yourself Producer Snafu, being that you're producer, instead of like, just being like DJ. Not that I was going as DJ Snafu, because I don't know how to fucking mix for shit. So like, he goes, why don't you be Producer Snafu? And I was like, all right, cool, awesome, great. And so, that's who I was. And I remember going into a chat room and like, talking to other people about music. I think I was like, it was so interesting because like, I was into production, but I didn't know the terms of like what I was trying to make or how to explain like the sounds I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Even though I could have, I just didn't really think of it. So anyways, I remember like being like in a chat room and talking about like, how do you make that airplane sound? And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like in drum and bass, like, how do you make that, like that round sound? And I didn't know how to explain it, but like, I was talking about bass lines, like, it's just like, bass, gnarly fucking bass lines.
Yeah.
I didn't know the terminology. And so like, this dude was like, hey dude, he's like, I like your name. He's like, do you know what it means? I was like, yeah. You see a bit of confusion. He's like, no, he's like, that's not what it means. I was like, oh, what does it mean? He was like, you ever seen Save It Private Ryan? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you remember how they kept on saying like, that's FUBAR? Oh, that's FUBAR. Or that's FUBAR. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. He's like, FUBAR is a World War II acronym for fucked up beyond all recognition. He's like, Snafu is also a World War II acronym, which stands for situation normal all fucked up. And I was like, whoa. I was like, my name just became like a whole lot fucking cooler, dude.
Yeah.
So I always kind of like took that like intensity of the name and the meaning and thinking to myself like, all right, cool. So basically what this means is that like my name is Snafu and I'm capable of making fucking like some sick ass fucking bangers, and I'm gonna fucking go to a party, and when I play that party, I'm gonna be like the most fucking like hyped fucking person there, and I'm gonna fuck that place up basically.
Cool.
And also like because I can be manic, I guess. I don't know.
Cool.
But yeah, that's what Snafu is, and that basically started in 2001, and I started releasing I guess records like around 2004, 2005. That's where we can talk about MySpace, right?
Yeah, sure. With the Soulseek, it's funny that I like when you're talking about how there were things you didn't really know the terminology for or whatever, but you were, trying to kind of grab this thing that you knew existed, but it was like completely unknown to you. For me, I was like a country bumpkin from further up north in Canada. You can only imagine,
Whoa.
And I didn't even know what the fuck breakcore was. I was just on Soulseek because of piracy, right? Because I couldn't buy a fucking Aphex Twin record unless I flew to Toronto, like fucking $700 away. And I remember people would, they would tell me the music I was like trying to emulate. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, that's breakcore." It was so fucked. Like I didn't know dick all. Like my town, everyone was still listening to grunge and indie, and like it was like you couldn't. It was just sort of like if you weren't into rock and roll, like you were fucked. And I had no idea about electronic music, and Soulseek really, all the people on there, like sort of coached me and told me what the rest of the world was like, because this is before Facebook, right? You couldn't. I didn't know anyone in California. Dude. I didn't know anyone in Berlin. Yeah. I didn't know anyone in like Israel or anything like that. And they tell you how the rest of the world is, and it kind of makes you go like, oh fuck, I gotta see the world a little bit, So it's kind of cool, it's kind of cool. Like I like hearing you say that, because like I think all the people that went there sort of learned from each other, like about their own culture and about like other cultures, like in these rooms, because there were so many of them. There was the breakcore room, there was the IDM room, there was like experimental electronics. There was a lot of different rooms, and they were all like. Lots of trolling, like pre-troll culture, I guess. But it was, I don't know, like there was nothing better than staying up till like 3 a.m. on Soulseek and just like shooting the shit with people while getting the new like LFO album or something. That's
what's up, dude.
It was super cool. But let's talk about MySpace. Can I give you my theory on why MySpace fucked up? You know what it was? They were letting people embed YouTube videos and animated GIFs. And I think what happened was everyone's profile had like 10 YouTube videos and like 40 animated GIFs. And you couldn't even load a page anymore because a computer was like so shitty back then, right?
I just heard it condensed to like somebody saying that like YouTube like basically fucked up because everyone started like posting sparkly GIFs.
Yeah.
So in a way, like you're absolutely right, dude. But like, I never even really considered that's actually an interesting theory, dude.
Couldn't load people's profiles, and I was like, well, fuck this. And then MySpace came out, and then everyone's like, okay, let's just use MySpace now because there's no like animated GIFs. Let's talk about the MySpace days, the MySpace era. What was so beautiful about MySpace?
Oh, I can definitely tell you what was beautiful about MySpace, dude. For me, I kind of had like an upper hand because I used a code in HTML code that I had no idea how it worked. I was just told, like, hey, Snafu, if you are able to host this file and post this code on somebody's like MySpace page, like when they click on their page, it's going to go to yours. And I was like, okay. So like I posted that like on a bunch of people's like fucking like MySpace. I did it like on shit. Who hit me up? Andy Milanakis, Dormouse. I forget, dude. There's like a few like celebrities that were like, hey, dude, why is my page turning to yours? Or like, what the fuck? And like people would add me. And that's like how I got maybe some like a little notoriety, because the people were going to like, I forget what, like I was posting on everybody's shit, dude. And for a while people were like, who the fuck are you? Like, what the fuck? Like, your music sucks. And I was like, oh yeah. But, the thing that was beautiful about MySpace, was the fact that like, I saw earlier that like having your music hosted online was like currency as far as like having an upper hand on exposure, because you're able to like be like, hey, thanks for the ad. Here's my music. Yeah. And other people can like see them and be like, oh, what's this? This guy like, has pretty cool shit. Like, let me check it out. So that's like, grows like the snowball effect of like possible notoriety. And
I think that this was during a time where for like a 17-year-old kid listening to this now, he'd be like, what the fuck? Who cares uploading music on the internet? But they don't realize that in like 2005, it was all about being signed and having a CD and like having a fucking vinyl. And if you had a MySpace, I remember promoters telling me, oh, don't put your MySpace on the gig poster because it looks unprofessional. You know what I mean? That was like the fucking era we were living in. Like all these people were like anti-music on the internet because they thought it was like cheap and shit like that. So when putting stuff on MySpace, yeah, for sure. You're totally right. Like the exposure, it was like fucking punk rock when you were just giving your music away
it totally
for free.
Was. It was, dude. Yeah.
Like here's this net label EP and oh shit.
There you go.
My computer just, okay, sorry. I got clean install, so I haven't, anyways. We're good. Yeah.
It's all good, dude.
Yeah. So the exposure of MySpace, keep going on that one.
So basically, yeah, dude, it was an awesome time where like the only basically way that you were able to access people's music, I guess, on a very popular platform was through MySpace. That's how you found out about people. That's how I found out about other artists. It was a culture to where like if you knew somebody fucking cool and they knew you were on their fucking top 8, dude.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the top 8.
So like I would put like all my favorite producers and like I would modify my MySpace to have like 16 different top people instead of like 8.
Oh, cool.
And then yeah, dude, I mean, like I said, it was just kind of like a snowball effect. Like it was an interesting culture. I was able to like come across like different artists that I would have never like heard of. And it was interesting. And like I said, having like, my goal like earlier on, like I said, was to, well, I don't know if I said it yet, but like my goal was to basically be on as many net labels as possible, dude.
Yeah.
So that way I had as like much like archived music online that I could share. And if I wasn't signed to a major record label, I could send you a link and be like, here, dude, like check out my music. It's free. You can download it.
Yeah.
And from there, yeah, dude. Also SoundCloud was a new thing. So SoundCloud was basically in its like infantile stage, maybe like around 2006, 2007, 8.
Oh wow!
Right?
I don't remember. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, dude. So that was like the only time that you were publicly able to like upload your music. And I think at first it was like you can only have like an hour, and then now I think it's like 3 hours. But yeah, you're only able to have like an hour, dude, of like content, and you could post that link on other people's like YouTube profiles. But not only that, you could also post like your YouTube link on forums now. You can embed the code to show up like on your forum. Remember that? Signatures?
Oh my God, yeah. Let's talk about you said net labels here. Can you talk about some of the net labels you're on? Because I thought it was really cool, because back then, now you could set up like a Squarespace or some shit, but back then, like a guy who was running a net label was probably like a programmer He had all his ducks in his row. He knew he had to organize this thing that would host your music, and then he would have to promote your music and stuff. And they put a lot of work into that. There's the ones that I was on. I remember it sounded like a pain in the ass to run. There was like Odd Stim, and then there was like Post Under Records, and there was I think you were on Sociopath Recordings. Is that one, or what are the ones you were on?
I was on this label called Severed Digital Audio Recordings.
Okay.
Or Records? Severed Digital Audio Records. SDR. Yeah, Severed Digital Audio Records.
Yeah, and how was that for you? Was it cool the first time going on, or was it like what?
It was great, dude. I'm lucky enough to say that, like, that net label basically paid for me to come out to Calgary and play, dude. Like, I think in 2006. Yeah, dude.
Shit,
I was like...
Calgria, Calgary?
Exactly,
That's
dude.
pricey,
and, like,
dude.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I was very thankful that, I was able to have, like, my net label at the time send me to Calgary, dude, and experience that culture. What else was I on? I was on Alpha Basic, I think. No, I wasn't on Alpha Basic. I was Alpha Numeral, I think. Alpha Numeral?
Yeah, I think I heard of that one. Yeah.
Chaos Records, I think. And... Man, I'm drawing a blank right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been so long, dude.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, I would try to find, like, net labels of, like, musicians I like. I remember, like, there was, like, this Japanese net label that let me release a song, and I was like, oh, shit, Bonner's on this label. I was like, let me try to see if I can get on that label. But, like, yeah, dude, I was all about, like, releasing, like, free shit as much as possible, but I couldn't, for the life of me, dude, send out a demo, dude.
Yeah, well, it's... Now you must know, like a decade later, like looking back, like the only way you could get on labels is if you knew the guy in person and like you booked him at your show and he booked, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a networking thing. Yeah, like all those CDs, like everyone that sent out, just went on a pile that like dude, they just kept around as like a fucking ornament. When people would come over, they'd be like, oh, that's the demo pile, right? So I think in retrospect, doing the net label stuff is probably better. And in the long run, in 40 years, when the internet archaeologists are like digging through, internet culture, they're going to look at what you did and see you as a pioneer, I think.
Fuck, shut up.
Nah, it's true though. It's fucking true. Because like there was a lot of stigma, man. And if it wasn't for these net labels, like, because I remember when with Rainbows, that Radiohead album came out, and they're like, oh, we're releasing it for free. And I was like, fuck off, dude. Like, there's so many people that are like in the underground right now releasing shit for free. Like when corporate America started doing it, you knew it was going to be a thing, right? I honestly think like guys like you and like all the net label communities, even though it hasn't really been like established yet, like I really think they pioneered like internet music distribution for sure, without a fucking doubt, man. Without a doubt.
I think it's cool that you're documenting it, dude.
Well, I'm trying to, man, because no one else is going to do it. So,
if you need suggestions, I mean, like, I know some other like Soulseek companies. Yeah,
you gotta honestly after give me the names, and I'm looking for them.
Totally, dude, yeah.
So what were you using then? You said you were using VSTs, but you're an FlStudio guy, right?
Yeah, I was using FlStudio. So like, I recently have been making tutorial videos. And I wanted to like reach out to this guy named Ned Rush, and I would always like see his videos because, like, I mean, being a producer, dude, just because like my name is Producer Snafu, doesn't mean I know everything about producing.
Yeah, but it's not. So, like, you don't need to. It's about creativity. It's not about being a nerd, right? So
like, I love to nerd out by watching tutorial videos, dude.
Yeah,
and like like why not give back to like the creative community by saying like, hey, here's a different technique as to how to like make this music that's fucking badass. So whenever I would look for like breakcore tutorials to see like what other people had to offer, I would usually come across this guy named Ned Rush's content, and I noticed that like when I would look at like I guess like my messenger, I would see like him being active, and I would usually stay up at night. And so like he's from Australia, so like he's usually up by like when I'm up.
Yeah.
And so like I hit him up, and I was like, hey dude, I was like I wanted to start making like more YouTube tutorials. I was like, do you have any suggestions? And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, just basically drink a beer and like be yourself and just pretend like you're talking to one of your mates. And I was like, cool, man. Thanks for the advice. I'll try that.
Yeah.
So I hit him back up and I was like, hey man, I was like uploaded a video, but like I tried like recording myself drinking. I was like, but unfortunately my drunk ass like didn't record the audio. He was like, oh mate, he was like, I was just kidding about that. He was like, I wasn't serious. Yeah. I was like, no man, it's a good approach, dude.
It's not good for your pancreas.
Exactly. Yeah. So he reminded me of this dude named Peter something that basically was the original name that came with Cool Edit Pro too.
Okay. And
he has like a Twitter account. I forget. I can link you later, but like he has a Twitter account that says like if he ever like had a Cool Edit Pro 2 cracked version, it was because of me, and you're welcome.
Oh wow.
Are you familiar with what Cool Edit Pro 2 is?
I know Cool Edit was what Adobe Audition eventually became, right? It was like like SoundForge or WaveLab. What's it called? I'm looking at one right now. Why the fuck can I think it? Wave Editor. There we go. Yeah.
Correct, man.
Yeah. It's like Gold Wave.
So I was using the FlStudio and I was using Cool Edit too. And at the time I was like, chopping up my favorite Gabber kicks from my favorite musicians. And then I started to delve more into VSTs. It was funny because like I used to judge VSTs by like the presets. At first I used to like go through the presets and be like, oh cool, this sounds cool. Like I can like make a whole song with this. Like this preset can inspire a sound.
Yeah.
And so eventually like I got into sound design myself rather than like using presets. And it took me like a long time to like not want to use presets, but like I've been using presets more often and I've definitely like been modifying to sound like how I like, but I usually like to like start off with my own like sound design. But
it's amazing. At the time, it's amazing how if you take like a week to learn like oscillators, LFOs, and ADSR, like it's so much quicker to make the sound you want than to like go scroll through 8 hours of absinthe fucking presets to find the one thing you want, Yeah.
So check this out. This is what I love about like our era right now is that like we have the ability and access to
information. Is crazy.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's unreal.
Because like I used to like reverse engineer like presets and be like, oh, that's what this does, and that's what this does, and that's how this affects that. And it's like, okay, I became aware basically of like how to like shape sounds and what have you. But I never really made music how like I heard it ideally in my head. Mm-hmm. But yeah, dude, at the time, I'm still using the same stuff, but like I've definitely expanded like, as like what I use as far as tools. I see VSTs and like synthesizers is kind of like how one would like see like a guitar and like, effects pedals.
Yeah.
Like, with a certain guitar, you're going to get like sustain or like a certain tone that you're not going to get from like another guitar.
Yeah.
So like, some are like, some, act as like, access to like, different guitars, different uses.
Are you using any hardware or are you just software? Oh Lord,
no, dude. No, unfortunately, man, I can't afford hardware. But like, as far as like, I guess like the only hardware I have is like, not even like really hardware. It's just like a MIDI keyboard. It's at least it's a 49.
Yeah,
49.
I respect that though, because like the hardware shit is like, it's the same thing, man. Like if you put a fucking VST through like a guitar amp, it's gonna sound the same as putting a Moog through a guitar amp. Maybe if it's all in the box, maybe you could spot the two.
Right there, my friend would pretentiously cut you off and say,
"Wrong."
Let's pronounce Moog.
Oh, Moog. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So if we can please respect
I'm Canadian. Sorry.
His spirit. It's okay. He forgives you.
Forgives you. Awesome. But yeah, I like the in the box approach. And like there's a lot of breakcore guys. Like everyone's like, oh, Renoise. I use Renoise, but it ain't because it's good. It's because I started using trackers in 1996. I'm just too dumb to learn anything else, right? Like that's the only reason why I use Renoise. And with snares, he's probably only using Renoise because he was using Octamed in the back in the day, So like there's so many people doing breakcore with FlStudio. There's an Opticon, there's Blarg, and these guys are awesome, and you're using FlStudio because I saw some guy on one of your posts because you were asking suggestions for another YouTube video, and the guy's like, how to use Renoise, haha, and I'm just like, come on guys, come on.
I've noticed that. To me, it's all about like what you're comfortable with, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you said, like if you're comfortable with using like hardware or like, your Rex or, like a VST or your smartphone or a fucking Game Boy, dude.
Mario Paint, yeah.
Whatever the fuck like you're however you can mold and shape your sound, fucking do it, dude. Just be creative. Just make something, dude. Don't like talk about like, you know, the fucking gear that you have. Just fucking make badass music, dude. Just make music.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and DAWs are basically subjective to like one's workflow, dude. And unfortunately, like for me, like I don't really feel like typing out my beats, dude.
Yeah.
Like nothing against like, you know, nothing.
I love that. Yeah.
Nothing against like trackers, dude. Like, dude, if you have a fucking fast workflow, more fucking power to you, dude. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I've been using this formula, this like workflow, you know, for like 18 years, and I'm not gonna, you know.
And there's better
something that ain't broke.
There's a lot of good stuff like in the box on FlStudio, like Harmor, and their vocoder is really awesome. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff inside of FlStudio for sure.
Every DAW has its good feature. Do you use FlStudio?
I was downloading Harmor and the vocoder. I just found myself downloading a lot of stuff that was in it. I used FlStudio for a little bit, like when it kind of first came out. I was just kind of, I was using Fast Tracker 2 forever, and then I was like, oh, this is old shit. Like, I'm going to try Acid Loops. I'm going to try FlStudio. I'm going to try Reason. I'm going to try whatever. And then at some point, I kind of was trying to go back into trackers because I just had used them like all through the 90s. And then... Yeah. And then Renoise was like, honestly, sorry?
You were making music in the 90s with trackers, dude?
Oh, yeah. I was using Fast Tracker 2 in 1996. Yeah, for sure.
I fucking envy that. Had I known about that fucking culture, had I had the access to a fucking computer.
Yeah,
I didn't have
that's
access,
the thing. Yeah.
I didn't have access to a computer till like 2001.
Yeah.
But like, had I known, dude, I would have been so adamant about like, all right, yeah, let me get that $200 and buy a fucking computer to make music.
Well,
that's what I would have fucking done.
Yeah, even with me, like my family wasn't really well off either. You know, my brother got a computer because I think he got a student loan because he's going to go to school for graphic design or something. And just by sheer luck, the one guy in my fucking town, the like super small ass town, happened to have this program that he got off of BBS. And so, like, 3 or 4 people
That's some
knew
sheer
about
ass motherfucking luck.
Yeah, yeah. But back in the day, it was like kind of like you would trade shit through floppy disks, right? Like the first GTA, like the first Grand Theft Auto, it was like, you know, you give that to your friend, the demo, like on 10 floppy disks or something fucked up like that, you know? But the Renoise is okay. It's like the best tracker you can get now. But like even then, there's a bunch of shit that I'm like, ugh, you know. But FlStudio, I really appreciate it. I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, the closest thing I've used to a tracker, dude, is LSDJ.
Oh, yeah, for sure. LSDJ is cool. Well, you did a bunch of chiptune stuff too, huh?
Yeah, totally, dude. I don't know. For some reason, like I just had always been like, I guess, partial to the sound of like 8-bit like waves.
Yeah,
8-bit sounds. So that's always played a part of like a big element of my music at some points.
You're doing a lot of chip break too, right? Like the kind of Sasquatch kind of sounding stuff.
Yep,
that's awesome. Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah. Are you still doing chiptune, or were you playing any chiptune shows, or?
Chiptune shows? No, not necessarily. I don't think I've ever been booked for like a chip. I mean, I haven't been booked anywhere. Well, I mean, I guess I've been booked for like chiptune, sure. But I'm not really active in the chiptune community. I'd like to be.
Yeah. Do you tour or anything, or do you play like a lot of shows? Because you're saying you don't really.
Like I said, dude, I'm lucky to have like the small notoriety that I do have as far as like a bedroom producer with like, you know, the small bit of like, you know, releases that I do have or whatever. I've been fortunate enough to play Las Vegas. I've been fortunate enough to play Portland, Oregon a few times, Washington, Canada, Colorado. I think it's as far as I've gone. Yeah, Colorado. And
your live rig, it's all just like your project files, or do you do something differently?
At first, my first live show was in LA, and I think it was in Long Beach, I think. And I basically just played my set off of Cool Edit.
Oh, really?
Pro 2.
Cool.
Yeah, I just kind of. I never really, like I said, dude, I never really learned how to like mix and stuff like that.
Okay.
So like the way I would play live is like I would play like I would make a set like on Cool Edit Pro, and then like Ableton Live came out, and I started utilizing that like around 2009.
Yeah.
And so at that time, like I was making dubstep, and like, you know, I was like, oh, this is how you mix, and oh, you're able to like stretch, you know, patterns out.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, that's basically like what I used to play live. I use like a Korg, I guess, micro.
Okay.
Micro.
Yeah.
and I use Ableton Live, and I use the Glitch VST. I use high pass, low pass, retrigger, phasing, tape stop, bit crush, high pass. I think I already said that. And maybe some other effects I'm missing. I also use like the Glitch VSTs for some elements, but what I mainly use for like my live setup is basically Ableton Live and the Effector, I think, from Sugar Bytes, the Effect Stores, I think it's called.
Cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, because you're talking about the Cool Edit Pro thing or whatever, in the DJing. It sounds like you're doing a lot more than just playing the stuff off Cool Edit Pro. You know? Yeah,
I'll just like trigger sounds and effects. I unfortunately I don't have the ability to feed off the crowd and be like, I'm gonna play this fucking song next.
yeah, it's kind of hard to, especially with that kind of music. It's kind of hard because like you don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like it definitely takes a lot of skill to sort of like have that kind of like. I'm definitely not a fucking DJ. Let me tell you. Like I just try to get as shit face as possible and then hit play on whatever happens to be playing the sounds. That. But yeah, especially when you're doing breakcore live, it's a little tricky. Yeah,
it's fun. Yeah. I always wanted my sets to be like DJ sets because let's see. Should we start name dropping people that we used to talk to on Soulseek?
Sure, if you want. Everyone's fake Venetian snare like contact is like, oh yeah, I'm talking to snare. It's like, I don't know, bro. Are you? Like,
weird. I don't think this was Soulseek. I think it was I forget. Anyways, I guess I was talking to Ed Fliss during Times 3, Duran.
Okay.
And he's the one that actually introduced me to like 2005 drum and bass.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, oh shit. I was like, this is how breakcore should fucking sound.
Like technical itch.
Yeah, like just like I was like, this is basically breakcore, but they're just not like fucking it up like how like everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
So I always envied that production.
It's like they fuck up the synths but not the drums, whereas like breakcore fucks up the drums and not the synths.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. There you go. Wow, that's a good way to like describe that, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Good on you. So, what was I talking about?
You were on Soulseek and he was showing you 2005.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had access to like some good music and I wanted to emulate that, dude. And what the fuck? Yeah. Pretty much that. So I said like name dropping people. I remember this one time, like I wanted to get in contact. I hit up Zanapticon.
Okay.
And I was like, hey Zanapticon, I was like, can I have some Gabber kick patches for Zeta? And he was like, what? No. He was like, it's not even that hard. Well, I shouldn't sound like that. He was like, it's not even that hard to make a Gabber kick.
Yeah.
He's like, you're essentially what you have to do is like take like a synth and have it go from a high point to a low point really fast. And I was like, okay.
It's like walking up to Hendrix and be like, can I borrow your wah pedal?
Basically, dude.
That's some audacity right there.
I know, dude.
That's awesome.
I have some fucking balls, dude. I have some fucking balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I used to like, talk to some of my favorite producers on Soulseek.
That was so cool. Huh? Like that was the other cool thing about like all this stuff. You could just find people and like email them and stuff. I remember emailing.
Exactly.
I remember I would just email people in like the booklets of like the CDs I was listening to. And sometimes they'd like email you back. It was fucked up, man.
No one was a fucking diva at all except for me.
Oh yeah, were you like that or what? Did you have a bad attitude? Or I never thought you were like a bad attitude guy. Like we never really talked. I
remember you. I just don't remember like I guess trading dialogue, dude.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a quiet guy, more like surprisingly. I could be a loudmouth, but I generally don't talk a lot, But I remember seeing you in the chat room, and I never really got that vibe from you. I don't know. Maybe there was like heated discussion, but it never sounded like malicious or anything like that.
I used to like hate on people.
Oh, really? Why? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about envy and hate and how producer Snafu overcame his envy and hate through meditation.
So,
because everybody has it. Everyone's controlling it to some degree. It just some are better self-censors than others.
So I have bipolar type 2. Oh, no, I'm sorry, bipolar type 1. And at the time I wasn't diagnosed. I hadn't had a manic attack or a manic episode. but I definitely had the symptoms of what basically like attributed to my bipolar.
Yeah.
And so I was a very emotional person, and I still can be, but I'm definitely way more like educated on my diagnosis, definitely self-aware. And I'm definitely in tune with like, you know, how my ego is affected and what it's affected by.
Sorry,
so,
can I ask you something? Okay, you're Hispanic, right?
Yep, I'm Mexican.
You're Mexican, okay. Because, so my Colombian part of me, like, I don't know what it is, man, but when the moon is full and I drink, like, some sour milk, I have, like, I can get enraged. I could get fucking enraged. Yeah, I will flip a table, I will pull a Kyle and punch a hole in the wall and shit.
Sorry, what's your name again?
William. But
William.
Yeah. So like I'm wondering, well, because I don't want to cut you off on your story, but I'm wondering if you maybe can attribute it to that sort of hot blooded. Because my mom and my brother are the same way. Like they're super chill, but if you fuck with them, they lose their fucking mind. It's just a thing. I don't know what it is, and I'm wondering if it's like a Latin American thing or what.
No,
can I say that, or is that? Yeah, no, I can say that. I can say that.
That's a good theory. That's an interesting theory. But it sounds like, I don't know, man. Maybe that you're just not an aggressive person, like in general. But like, I guess upon like your
obstacles,
it's hard for you to find like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, that's why you gotta make music. That's
exactly.
If you ever see a therapist and you talk to them about music, they're like, dude, like you're so emotionally stunted. If you don't make music, you're gonna fucking kill somebody, right?
Dude, my therapists love me, dude.
Yeah. So sorry, let's talk about these polar filters you're talking about that you got. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
It's all good, dude. I actually kind of want to like ask you some questions.
Yeah, sure, man.
At some point, I don't want this to be all about me. To get to know you as well, too, man.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, dude. I basically had bipolar undiagnosed, and along with like bipolar, I get what's called hypomania, and basically what hypomania is an elevated mood to where like you're not completely manic, and when you're manic, you're basically like delusional. You have racing thoughts.
Oh
wow. You're going on like delusional shopping sprees. You basically feel like you can heal the world. Or in my case, I actually thought I was God, which is kind of interesting because I happen to be like an atheist. But for some reason, I was convinced I was the second coming of Christ, dude.
Oh, wow.
But anyways,
that's a first for the podcast.
Exactly. People liking my stuff went to my head, dude. Like,
oh, really?
You know, like, I was just like, you know, like this depressed dude, like, you know, in a dark room in a hot place making like aggressive music because like I felt unloved. I felt like, you know, like I had no, like, I don't know. I need to be loved. And I didn't realize that like the way that I was brought up.
Everybody needs to be loved.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm all about spreading love too, dude, if possible.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, I would make this music and like, I would get like hypomania, and when people would like my stuff, like, you know, it would go to my head and like, you know, it would make me like act edgy. And sometimes I had the capability of like trolling and like maybe crossing boundaries or what have you, but not necessarily meaning it, but like it would sometimes be soothing to like my ego. Like, yeah, like, you know, like I'm better than you, or like, you know, just like kind of like that, like instinct. But, as far as like, you know, who I was envious of like Cardo Pusher. You know, I was like, who the fuck is Cardo Pusher? I was like, why is he on this label? And I remember like being envious of like Droon and let's see, just like I guess like other people where I was like, you know what, I think my music's just as good, and I want to be at that person's notoriety, and I want to make music, you know, that is just as good as them.
Oh, you know, that's so dangerous to think like that, because like a lot of those guys, like it had the notoriety had nothing to do with like maybe they're talented, but a lot of it is just like you know, business acumen, like networking, being in the right place at the time, different circumstances. And these guys probably, you know, have just as much fucked up trauma as like anyone else too, you know.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a bit of empathy that kind of, I don't know. I find that like everybody's got shit. You know, no matter
exactly.
Jeff Bezos has got shit. You see Mark Zuckerberg in those testify things this week or testimonials and
no, I've not.
This guy looks like he needs a hug. He's like honestly melting to death, and it's like this guy is like the fucking king of the world, and he looks like he has like 20,000
He's
ulcers.
never really been able to like withstand being interrogated, dude. Yeah.
So
it's very obvious that it makes him nervous.
So you had this envy. How did you overcome it? Like, what did you do to like, or do you still have it?
No, not really. I don't really have the envy anymore. I found self-love, like I discovered like I have to empower myself.
Yeah.
And that people do love me. And I
sure.
have it really good. I have it really lucky. I'm very lucky that like, although like, I was capable of sometimes being an asshole to like some people, and I've definitely made up to like, those people. I remember I used to hate on, Dev Null. I used to hate on Dev Null. And I saw him recently, and I was like, dude, what's up? I was like, your music's so awesome, dude. Like, it's good to be.
And your fucking Old School Jungle podcast is amazing. I fucking love that, man. I listen every time it's on the SoundCloud. I have to listen to it, man. It's like the greatest thing ever. But I just got to throw that in there. Follow everybody. Like, I don't know the guy, but like follow his SoundCloud, everybody. He releases
I had no idea.
It's like this retro techno like thing. Holy fuck, it's the best, man. Anyways.
Yeah, he's been playing some old school boppers, dude, for sure.
Yeah. So you had this thing, but all the while, like all these people liked you. Isn't it weird? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I mean, like I can also be delusional out too, as well. Like I was definitely seeing the world through like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Where I was basically reacting to things emotionally rather than logically.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. I was young, dumb, and full of cum.
Yeah, I hear you. So
25, like around 2005, and
what advice would you give for people out there that sort of are like struggling with sort of the same kind of demons?
Self-awareness, dude, is the way to go. To basically find out how your brain functions and find out like what psychology is, and find out like how those things attribute to you and how they attribute to other people, and try to be the best you that you possibly be. And if you find yourself, I guess, coming across suicidal thoughts, or coming across thoughts where you basically want to throw a brick into someone's head without them like provoking you,
it's Monday for me.
Or if you're finding it hard to get out of bed, or if you're having low energy, or you're not able to like socialize, if you're having like these symptoms, definitely seek out help. Don't be afraid, or articulate yourself. Tell people, musically, like how you're feeling. Like it feels good to like have a coping skill.
Yeah.
And music has always been like, music, writing, talking to people, going for walks, stuff like that. Being active, being productive, being occupied helps you escape like, mental trauma, not mental trauma, but mental, like basically like struggles.
Yeah.
Like it's
spinning your wheels.
If you keep yourself occupied, dude, it's not gonna make the voices stop, but like, at least you're not being like, why me? Or like, we live in an era where we have information to find out who we are.
Yeah.
And, we're not just some unique, snowflake that was born on, under a bad star.
Yeah. Especially if you're like born in America or like Canada or something. It's like, I don't know, guy, like, it's pretty good in our countries. Like there's a lot of bullshit, but at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity, Yeah.
Yeah. We all have reasons as to like why we are and who we are. And we all have definitely different personality types. And some of us were conditioned to respond and act, towards different ways. So finding out the most about like how you function and how other people function is a great way of learning about yourself. And I definitely am,
it's a process.
I'm definitely an advocate of like mental health and mental health awareness.
Everything that you said, I agree with 100% for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, and the thing is now, the thing that I'm kind of worried about, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be. I'm just like maybe I'm just ignorant or whatever. But I'm worried that a lot of kids don't have that anymore. Like I feel like, like a lot of the music making started like when we were younger because we were bored. We didn't have we didn't have the same like kind of like distractions. Whereas now, kids, their free time is constantly being stolen from them by all these like just fucking distractions, like all the notifications and all the shit, you know. And yeah, you know, and these applications, they're all designed by like, you know, not to shit on Facebook all the time, but like the you know, they design that based off of like slot machines, you know, like the feed, right? And there's all these weird.
There's an interesting podcast about that as far as like the sounds that were created for Facebook. You ever heard of this podcast called 20,000 Hertz?
No, sounds cool.
Yeah, it's great, dude. If you love audio,
oh, dude,
that's like that's basically like listening to like an audio documentary, like a 20-minute audio documentary, dude.
I'll definitely check it out. I'm all in.
It's great, dude. So yeah, they have an episode about like the sound design behind that and the science behind it.
Yeah,
it's not like, I mean, like, dude, psychology straight up, like, not just like put on like a tinfoil hat, but like, you know, being that there is such a thing as psychology, corporations and what have you have found ways to appeal to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether it be like, you know,
influence.
And then yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that like people like, you know, I'm easily influenced. Are you easily influenced?
Yes and no. It depends. Like, I think I'm so at one point of like, oh, you can't influence me, that if you come by and like have this radical, like anti, like mainstream point of view, even though it's totally bullshit, I'll buy into it. Like if Alex Jones says it or something, I'd be like, well, it's gotta be true because this guy's been right so many times. So I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I think we all are. You know, because sometimes we're just like lacking the facts, you know, like you could be with a girlfriend who's fucking cheating on you with like 6 guys, and as long as she's lying to you, you know, you believe it, right?
Yeah, let's rewind it back to like, you know, a minute and a half where I was like, hey, you should listen to this podcast. You're like, I'm on it. I just influenced you.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Snafu, sneaky bastard. Good Lord.
So not only did I influence you, but hopefully I influenced your listener, and I'll definitely give a shout out to that dude.
Yeah.
Let him know that, you know, I shout him out because it's a great podcast, dude.
Yeah,
dude. You know, there's ways of like, you know, companies to like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say manipulate you, but because of the science and awareness of psychology, you know, we can find out like how to like appeal to people. Yeah, and so like there's that sound design, and it's interesting. I like that aspect of like psychology, and not to manipulate people, but the fact that like we are easily influenced.
Going back to MTV, there's this documentary that I watched called Birth of Cool, or I think it's, or wait, not Birth of Cool. That's something else. Manufacturing Cool. I forget the name of this documentary.
That sounds cool.
And
Manufacturing Cool.
and it was basically like they followed these guys from MTV around. And it's like about an hour. I think it was on PBS, and or something cool. Just look for the word cool and then like certain words: manufacturing cool, creating cool, something like that. Anyways, and this was like in like the Dreamcast era, so like 1999, 2000, 2001, and they were following around the MTV like executives, and it was crazy. The guy would go into like, he would find random houses and just ask them if they could go in their teenager's bedroom and just look around.
I recall that.
And he would like go in their closets and stuff. He's like, oh, they wear flannel or they do this, and he would just like sit there for like an hour, and then they would bring it back to like their market research like whatever palace, and they would use that to sort of like try to
consensus.
You know, and it goes through like the birth of like Limp Bizkit and Insane Clown Posse because of like these various like focus groups and stuff like that. And they were talking about like guys that were like going into like chat rooms like Soulseek, but it was like more like AOL or whatever, going like, oh, I really love drinking Sprite. Sprite is awesome. You know, like these guys.
Way.
Yeah, for sure. That. Fuck. I'll find the name of it and I'll put it in the show notes because it's really good, man. You'd probably like it.
I would definitely appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, so you're totally right. They've been doing it forever, right? You look at like Edward Bernays, who wrote Propaganda. You know,
remember how earlier I said that I was definitely the perfect demographic for being a Korn fan?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah. So for sure, you know, a lot of people, they'll think, oh yeah, that's crazy talk. Like there's nobody doing that, but it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like even music, it's the same thing with like Britney Spears or Korn or whatever. Like they maybe Korn didn't know, but their marketing teams knew. Like they knew what magazines.
Dude?
Yeah.
The culture has shifted as far as like sex appeal. Like, okay, so say for instance, you recall Britney Spears.
Of course. Unfortunately.
What was she dressed as?
Oh my god, like some fucking naughty schoolgirl Halloween costume.
Fetishized, right?
Oh, for sure. It's all sex.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was before the porn era, before we had access to porn.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
So like, these corporations and these like, studios, they know what they're doing, dude. They've done the science. They've taken like, they know that sex appeal is like the way like, music sells.
Yeah.
Sex sells, dude. It's image.
And they use it for everything else too, right? They make it like, oh, you got to make a lot of money or else you'll never bang anyone over a 6, right? And that they just, it's like this divide and conquer, like, productivity bullshit. And now it's coming back. They got this like kind of, anyways, I don't want to get into it there. Like, I don't want to, whatever, but,
I do.
Okay. Well, if you see now, you get like, I don't want to shit on Jordan Peterson or whatever. I think at a base level, he's all right, but I like his stuff, but like, I think there's a function now with kind of like this new like self-help YouTube where it's like less about like kind of getting in focus with yourself and more about like, oh, well, you just need to try harder. Like you need to go to the gym and get ripped. Like you need to get a black belt in like fucking martial arts. Like you need to be this type of person. You know what I mean?
I do that too, but you know what else I need? Not that like you're talking to me, but like
no. But I mean like it's sorry, but like the point I was trying to make is that's not like that's I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Like they're teaching people to reintegrate themselves into a world that alienated them in the first place. So like if you're alienated and you're like kind of in your room playing video games, like it's because like the fucking system was broken for you, man. Like, and so I find a lot of people, instead of being like, okay, let's analyze your trauma and let's like analyze like your emotions and shit like that. They're like, no. Like, here's like the warp whistle for Mario to like reintegrate yourself into the system that's like fucking alienating you in the first place. Like, just try harder, bro. It'll be better. And it's like, no, man. Sometimes it's not like what it is. Sometimes you actually have to go see a fucking therapist and like talk about the time, like, all the shitty things when you're a kid and stuff, right?
I agree.
So I don't know. Like, anyways, yeah.
You should know, man. You should know.
Yeah, but it's important that people talk about that stuff, and they make it so that I don't know. It's the Joker. I think that new movie kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think now they're starting to figure out like the mental health issue thing, and let's
touch on that. What about that?
Well, I saw it and it looked like they were the slant was like, oh, like Joker's fucked up because he's not getting taken care of correctly and there's not enough funding for like mental health issues. Isn't that sort of what? Did you get that vibe or because that was the vibe I got?
Yeah, like I just heard like
shit. Sorry, dude.
No. I don't care, and you also have like your audience to consider as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like in
I don't care.
In the movie, like I don't know. I just whatever. I like movies. I go. I see this movie.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, whatever, guys. It's so in the movie, like he's seeing like a therapist. And then like the therapist doesn't give a fuck because she has to see like 100 like loonies every day, and then at some point in the movie, he's just a number. And at some point, like she can't give him his medication anymore because like the city cut the funding on the program or whatever. And it was sort of like and it's kind of true. Like, even in Canada, like healthcare is free, but like mental health care is not free, so you're still, if you're going to see a therapist, it's going to be $200 an hour and it's going to be, if you're lucky, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, dude, like, we don't have free healthcare, but like I have Medi-Cal and, I don't like, I don't have like any form of like, income, or like reliable form of income. So like, when I had like my first, manic episode, I actually got like free, like healthcare.
Oh, cool.
All my medication taken care of and all that stuff. So yeah, dude,
sick.
If you're in America, especially like, I guess California, and you, I guess like kick the bucket and just kind of like, I guess like have a mental breakdown and you're not able to pay for it. Like, I guess California will like fund that, but like, they're not going to like make your life less. Like they're just going to like take care of you.
Yeah.
And it's on yourself to, take care of yourself. They're not going to hold your hand.
Do you find, well, I guess you do a little bit, but like, do you find music is like therapeutic? And do you think that like, that should be like a first thing for anybody who's just sort of like lost, that they should, I guess, find a creative outlet of some kind? Like,
of course, man, I'm definitely an advocate of people expressing themselves to any medium, however, whatsoever, when they can, however they can, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And, if I can influence people to, learn how to do things, or like, if I can influence people to, be creative, great. But the thing is that like sometimes some of us are not aware that like we need a form of articulation, and articulation has different various forms of how to be utilized. You know, it could be pottery, it could be drawing, it could be painting, it could be dancing, it could be making music, it could be singing, it could be however you create, as long as it's in a very cathartic way and it's not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
You know?
And the thing is, they try to replace that with some type of consumption. You know, that's more like just go buy shit, You know, and it's like, no, dude, like go buy a fucking pencil and some paper. Go buy a microphone, start a podcast. Go buy a fucking shitty $100 laptop on Craigslist and start making music or whatever. Or go to the library and make music. You know, like stop like fucking fueling this machine that's like fucking killing you in the first place, right? I don't know. I'm sorry, Ben. You're this is not the person I want to be on this podcast. You're getting me all riled up now. But yeah, I mean, like, look, I really one of the reasons why I did this was because I wanted to promote like my friends and people that I respected, and because I felt like no one was promoting them. And the reason why no one's promoting them is because all the promotion platforms are owned by, you know, like Rolling Stone and all these fucking places are owned by them. William, you know, big business. Yeah, you know, like, and so I really wanted to promote other artists and other people and get the culture out there and that DIY aspect, like inspire people to do shit.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Right. That's the only thing I care about. Like, as long as people are doing shit and they're happy and they're able to do something for the benefit of humanity instead of trying to bring others down, you know, like that's the thing, right?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah,
dude. So like, yeah, and I'm definitely, like I said, dude, I'm an advocate of trying to influence people to be creative, dude, because it's very therapeutic. It's very cathartic. And if you're honest with yourself and if you're honest to other people and you're willing to like bear your vulnerability, there will be some admiration for that, because there's a lot of people that can't fucking do that themselves. There's a lot of people that are singing to like songs that, you know, they can never say to like their lover. Or like people that like, you know, they love, like, you know, you have to fucking communicate, dude.
Yeah.
You have to do that. And you have to do that with yourself. And you have to practice your art. No one's going to be perfect overnight. Some might be a natural, but like, you know, if you like something, go for it, dude.
Yeah. Totally. I like this new Producer Snafu slant, the guru. I'm digging this. Okay, let's pivot to something that's very similar, your YouTube tutorials. Oh, okay. Let's talk about that. Like, I know you had that famous one where it was like how to make breakcore, and it was like delete your amen breakbeat.
No, it's like delete like your anime samples.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the YouTube tutorials, and it seems like you enjoy doing these now. I think it's great that you're doing that.
Yeah. I think I started off making a tutorial. I forgot, maybe like 2008. I started off like showing people how to make like a gabber kick in Citrus in FlStudio. And after that, like I made like a troll tutorial video, because at the time like I was super like anti like amen. Like for some reason I held pride in like, you know, using other breaks and being articulated with them.
Yeah.
You know? And thinking to myself, like, oh man, like I feel so much better about myself because I am able to use other breaks and make them sound just as good as the Yamen. Where I didn't take in consideration that the Yamen break is basically the element of breakcore, and I was trying to defy that rather than embrace it. I was trying to be like, come on, sheep, wake up! There's other things out there, but that's not true, dude. Because like if you think about it, dude, like, you know, the 808 is an element of hip hop, the 909 is an element of hardcore. The Amen break is the element of drum and bass, and, you know, hardcore and drum and bass, you know, are the elements of breakcore. So, you know, it's there's no rules. I was basically being a gatekeeper.
I think you might have influenced some people. Going back to influence,
I did, dude. I did, and I'm not proud of it, but like, you know, I might have opened some people's minds and been like, hey, maybe I won't use the Amen break in this track. So, luckily for me, or I don't know, anyways. Around 2011, I came into like a financial crisis, and I guess big name drop.
Elton John. Oh, okay.
I used to be homies with Snares on Soulseek.
Oh, cool.
And so like, back and forth, I would hit him up like on Soulseek, and like, it even came to the point where like, it's funny. I'm actually,
what was his username? Was it salt? Or what was the other one?
It was doll.
Oh, doll. Okay. Yeah. That was the one. Why did I think salt? Okay.
Yeah. Fuck, where's I going with this? Yeah. Okay. So like I hit up Snares and I was like, hey dude, I was like, is it possible that you can like shout out my album? Because like I'm in like a financial crisis. And he was like,
oh
yeah,
shit.
He's like, I could do that, but you have to pledge your allegiance to the Almond Break. So thanks to like, his Facebook post at the time, like, I had made enough to like, cover my financial expenses.
Oh, sick.
So I was definitely very thankful for that.
Mm.
And also like, it's fun fucking with the Almond Break, dude. Like it's been a while since I've actually used other breaks, but I definitely do use other breaks for sure. Mm. But I'm no longer that gatekeeper, that elitist that once I was called an anti-almond evangelist.
Well, you should. I don't know. Why not? Who cares, right?
do as you please, dude.
You should have got just like find a real drum kit somewhere and play it yourself, and then put the wave out. Call it the Snafu break. That could have worked out, and then everyone could have used it, right?
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about the Amen break. I think it's just one of those things that you've heard it so much that it's the familiarity of it that is like
the element. Dude.
Yeah, it's like the electric guitar, or like you were saying, but. Yeah, I don't know. Like I hear you. Honestly, some of the other breaks I try using, and I'm kind of like, I'd rather just use the Almond.
I love breaks, man.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. How are the YouTube tutorials going? Is that something that you're going to do? Or are you going to keep making music, or what's going on with that?
Right now, I'd like to do more tutorials. I'm just kind of struggling as to like what I need to approach first, because I've definitely switched from FlStudio 11 to FlStudio 20.5 and
wait 11 to 20.
Exactly.
Oh wow, there must be a lot of shit. That's different.
Exactly, dude. So like, I have to learn more about this program before I could be like, all right, guys, this is what you do. And it's just like, all right, well, like, there's a lot of people that like, that are still using like old versions of FlStudio.
Yeah. We've interviewed a few people that use like old versions of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's possible that I'm still influencing people that are using old versions of like, the software. Yeah. And one of the main reasons I was not like, progressing forward with the next, I guess, release was because I had gotten comfortable with like their feature that they had, which was called the block system, where people were using a specific feature that I just wasn't like, trying to use. I was more comfortable with seeing my progression and like, my evolution of like, between patterns, and seeing it go like, in a step down fashion rather than just like have everything right there. Like it didn't make sense to me. But like I've since moved on, and yeah, I've well embraced like the new FlStudio, and I love it. And I need to find out like how to like have more of like a, I guess, effective approach to where I could properly educate people on how to utilize this program.
Did you? Sorry, I just had a really good idea. Well, I don't know if it's a good idea, but did you ever think of having like a Patreon?
I would fucking love a Patreon, dude. I'm so fucking broke, dude.
Do a Patreon, man, and then like if people like your videos or your music, like they could go and whatever, right? I feel like Patreon works, and you seem like a guy who like, regardless of what you said earlier, like you seem like you put yourself out there,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it'd be a good idea. Why not?
It is a good idea, William, and I'll probably most likely consider doing so in the future. But at first, I have to build like a formula. Like I have to find out what I'm doing. Like I'm not even doing edits. Like basically, my formula, dude, straight up. Like I'll tell you right now, it's this approach. It's like I'm like you're the homie now. Now that like we've been formally introduced,
awesome.
We're fucking homies now. So I'm basically gonna try to like teach you FlStudio as if like you're there in the room.
Oh my god! You imagine a Producer Snafu Oxygen Fad web series where you teach me, the country bumpkin from northern Canada, how to use fucking Fruity Loops. That'd be good. Patreon only.
So if people see me like be myself, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Snafu's a cool dude," and like he seems like a cool dude to hang out with. Like he's not perfect. Like I'm not perfect. Like he's flawed. Like like I don't know if you noticed, but like like sometimes like in my videos, like I will like whistle when I talk.
Okay.
And like I find that fucking hilarious.
I didn't notice it yet.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if I'm a dork, dude. So like, if I like, think of like a funny thought, I'm going to laugh at myself. I'm just going to like, just be myself basically. And I kind of want it to be like an experience where it's kind of like you're hanging out with the homie, and I want people to be friends with me, and I want my fans to be my friends, and I want to be friends with my fans. And so that's how I'm going to treat them.
Do you stream on Twitch or?
I don't have like fast internet, dude. I don't have like I said, dude, like I'm over here at my homie's house, dude. Like I live with my parents. I'm 38 and like I have like no like source of income. And so like the only like way I have access to like the internet is like my free government phone that's been issued to me by the state of California.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I get about like broadband maybe like for like about 3 days or 2 days, and then like it's just really slow. But I have the option of going to Starbucks across the street and just accessing their internet if need be.
Oh wow.
But yeah, dude, I would love to stream.
But if you had a Patreon, you imagine if you were streaming on Twitch, right, from fucking Starbucks. Oh my god, that's a sob story right there. You get 100 people on your Patreon the first day. It'd be awesome, man. You imagine? I would tell everybody, be like, man, I know this dude that's streaming from Starbucks how to make breakcore. That is so fucking punk rock. In 200 years, the Internet archive.org people are going to be like, this guy, like he was hustling. That's some serious fucking hustle, dude.
That is a hustle. Yeah, y'all consider that, man. That's actually a really good idea.
Because you see this, man. Like kids that are like, oh, what MacBook should I need to produce? And it's like, MacBook? What are you talking? We were producing on fucking old ass computers from like 2002. Exactly. You don't need a Retina display. Right?
You know what's funny, dude? Is that like old breakcore like photos? You'll see like old pictures of like Dormouse like bringing like fucking like
his tower.
Like, fucking tower to the kid, dude.
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
it's so crazy how things have evolved, dude. But yeah, dude. As far as like the whole like tutorial thing, like I definitely would like more feedback from people as far as like what they'd like to be taught, dude. Because like, I mean, I'm not trying to like make it about myself or like be like, hey, listen to my music, dude. Fucking here's my music. Like I don't want it to be about me, dude. If they want to find out like what I can make or whatever, they can do that if they want to. I'm not gonna like put it in people's faces like I used to.
You're adding value, and then through that they'll want to discover you for sure, man. That's the formula these days.
Because I know that if I like something, dude, I'm gonna find out who the fuck this person is. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Their fucking video.
Yeah.
Download all their fucking songs. I'm gonna be a fan of that person.
Yeah, totally.
So if they want to do that, do it, dude. I don't encourage.
Are you looking for
people to follow me? I don't encourage like people like my videos. I just encourage that like you share this knowledge with your other friends, whether it be like sharing the link or you tell your friends about how to make music.
Yeah, you're looking for ideas for tutorials.
Totally, dude.
Oh my god, there's got to be a million. Does it have to be breakcore related, or does it have to be?
No, not at all, dude. No.
Oh man, you got to do like the neurofunk synth, like that Skrillex growl, the Skrillex growls, how to sound like Satan, how to do crossbreed drums.
Shit.
How to fuck. That's all I got right now. That's all I can think of. Yeah,
those are really good suggestions. I don't know how to do most of those things, but I'm willing to find out.
Well, there you go.
People are willing to like be like, hey, teach me this, because like if they're coming to me to be like, teach me, I'll teach you, dude.
Yeah. If you want, I could do a video for Renoise for your channel, and I'll give you the video, and you
totally,
like a guest spot or whatever. Yeah,
totally,
I started because I wasn't sure what I was going to do for a new album. Like I'm kind of like whatever, but I was like, maybe I'll just record myself making it, and maybe that will be all right. Like I don't know, like, but I feel like this is kind of the era where people just want to learn and know, and so that they could express themselves, right? Because like, sure, there's the minor celebrity, but like I think at the end of the day, you're just giving people the keys to express themselves in a way that they want to.
Dude, that's what I want to do, and that's what there needs to be more of that, dude.
Awesome.
And how many people do you know that are doing that, like in our genre?
I haven't really. Well, I don't know. Like honestly, I don't really consume a shitload of content. Like I'm still kind of old school. Like, but like I don't know. Like honestly, like I see for like other genres, like for the popular ones, but I don't really see. You're the only guy that I've seen for breakcore, and there's a couple like Renoise tutorials, but I've never really watched them.
That's interesting for me, dude, because I can capitalize on that.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, I definitely have a market that's untapped, dude.
Or you know what, too? Renoise also is has rewire in it, so you could make like a pattern in Renoise and then show people how to trigger Renoise from Fruity Loops, just so people shut the fuck up about like, why don't you use Renoise? You know. That's a good one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, dude. I mean, like, if anybody hears this and anybody wants to reach out and, like, you know, I guess share their ideas with me, I'm more than willing to do that, dude. That sounds good. If you want to spread information, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Soulseek mentality. Like, hey, I like your music. You know, fucking, like, I'll share it, and, like, other people can share your music and, like, download it off me. Like, that's what I want to do with information.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much, Ben. I totally appreciate your time. I don't want to go over time here. Let's talk about where can people contact you? Where like let's spam your stuff here. Let's get the links.
If you want to I guess contact me, you can contact me by logging on to www.twitter.com, which no one's ever done. No one's really on Twitter, dude. Like if you look on Twitter, like you can look up the hashtag Breakcore. Mm-hmm. But like, there's not really that many people like communicating on Twitter, dude, which is kind of unfortunate. Oh. But they are on there.
Okay.
If you want to directly hit me up, you can email me at producersnafu@gmail.com, or you can hit up my Facebook at facebook.com/producer.snafu, or you can hit up my Bandcamp at producersnafu.bandcamp.com, or you can hit up my Twitter at producer_snafu.
Awesome.
I had a question for you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just remember that.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that you said that like the Soulseek Breakcore room, or just like the Soulseek culture, was kind of like your window to like the world, and that you said that
totally.
Like, you know,
more. It was the IDM room and I was in the Breakcore room too. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious as to like, you know, have you ventured out and like experienced like, you know, any culture of like, you know, the rave scene or like, you know, Breakcore? Since then,
when I was in Moncton, New Brunswick. Fucking Google Maps that place. There was a girl named maybe I shouldn't say her full name, but Cynthia, who was throwing raves at a. Fuck! That was a good one. Oh my god, that was set myself up there. Anyways, that was a good one. Good one, Ben. So, anyways, it was this place called the Quake. I'm sure you've been there, and they used to play. There was raves there, but like I kind of was like really into like KMFDM and 9 Inch Nails and stuff, and I was really closed minded at the time. So I was like, I went to like 1 or 2 raves or whatever. The only reason why I started making Breakcore was because I really liked Atari Teenage Riot, and I really liked Aphex Twin, and I just was discovering like Square Pusher and Venetian snares. So I was like sort of trying to copy that like snare rush kind of sound or whatever. And then when I went online, people found me, and then some other guy actually told me to make an MP3.com. Some guy I met on like ICQ, like just through interest. Like I don't know what I put in, like fucking Fruity Loops or something. I don't know. No, I would have been using it at that time, and the as well as like trackers. But anyways, I eventually, they got to me, and I was like, shit, I gotta move. Like, I gotta go somewhere. So I ended up moving to like Quebec City, which is like a little bit of a bigger city. And then I moved to like Montreal, and then I moved to Ottawa, and then I moved to Toronto for a bit, and then I moved back to Montreal. And so I did get out for about a decade and a little bit. And when I went to Quebec City, that was really when I got balls deep in like their rave culture, and they have like a really healthy hardcore scene. Like I opened for Evil Activities, like he's like a Rotterdam hardcore guy. Like and every month or so they get like the Playa or Neophyte or like these like kind of like Rotterdam hardcore kind of guys, you know, like with the big synth lead, like da, 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 gong, 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 like that type of stuff. Yeah. So, but these guys like befriended me. They took me in, and really good friends to this day. Like, my God, these guys are some of these guys saved my fucking life. Yeah. So I owe them a lot, but they really helped me get shows and push me and stuff. And then I started to, I played a couple of their shows and would just go to the shows because they're my buddies. And then when I moved to like Ottawa, like the guys in Toronto the bass driven guys asked me to play a couple shows there, so I went.
Nice.
And then when I'd play some shows in Montreal with the chiptune guys. They had like a chiptune thing because I don't know why, like, because I remember because I was getting sick of like lugging around a laptop, so I found that I could export my songs into like, because they're tracker files. Like there's a tracker on the Nintendo DS. So it only does 2 megabytes, but if you like shrink your samples to like 8-bit mono, and if you really tailor it, you could get your songs on this and play it off the thing. So I was like, okay, so I was like, I'll play my songs off the Nintendo DS, and it'll be a lot easier. So I'd show up to these like, you know, these places, man. I'd show up to fucking Nocturne, this like goth bar that like plays like industrial hardcore or whatever, and I pull out this little white Nintendo DS. It's like the size of a fucking like cell phone, you know, and I'm playing this like crazy noise music out of it. It was fun. So, but yeah, to answer your question, that's sort of like how I kind of went from guy who listens to White Zombie all the time to sort of like kind of embracing that, and plus like all the people online like on Soulseek, you know, getting me into like Aphex Twin and stuff. I wouldn't be into this shit if it wasn't for the friends that I made on Soulseek, and I'm still friends with a lot of them today. Like Saul from Killbot Records, we send memes to each other, Doom memes every day and stuff. And there's a lot of people online that I still talk to. My God, I really cherish it, honestly, to tell you the truth. You know,
yeah, dude.
Like a lot of chiptune guys, like. I ended up just taking I was like broke as fuck, but I was like, you know, I'm going to get this Greyhound. I'm just going to go to New York from Quebec City, and I have no place to sleep, and I've never been to America before, right? And that's a big deal for a Canadian, right? Like, because we just see what's on TV, we think we're just gonna get murdered or something, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to America, and I'm gonna take this bus ride. So I take a 17-hour fucking bus ride or whatever it is to New York to go see Blip Fest, and I met all these chiptune guys.
That is so tight.
Yes, all these chiptune guys I met like online, meeting them in person because they're all from around the world, you know, and meeting guys from like Japan who listen to my music, and like,
that's tight.
Yeah, it was weird. They like bowed to me. They're like, "Oh, you're Oxygen Fab."
That's fucking tight. I want to be bowed down.
Well, I gotta make music about that. Oh, there you go. Like, but it was so weird because like I grew up in the fucking shittiest like backwoods. Like I'm from Moncton, but I'm from like 35 minutes outside of Moncton, like, so like dirt roads, and like there's nothing to do but like cut paths and make fucking tree houses and shit like that, you know what I mean? You just wrestle with your buddies all day and drink Colt 45 all the time. So it was so weird that I stumbled into this sort of like intelligent dance music genre when it's like I just grew up eating hot dogs, drinking Kool-Aid, and watching Stone Cold Steve Austin on fucking WWF, you know what I mean? Right? Yeah. So that was sort of, yeah, it's amazing how influential Soulseek was for me, and aphextwin.nu. Shout out to Xeltronic. We are the musicmakers.com. It didn't really.
Dude, I love fucking Wadham, dude.
Yeah, I know. I talked to Roy G. Biv, or not Roy G. Biv. That was Sasquatch. It was Joyrex. I talked to Joyrex a couple of times online, but I never really hung out on We Are the Music Makers. I was more of like a aphextwin.nu guy. But those.
Can I tell you a little story?
Yeah, sure, man, sure.
A little story.
Yeah, go for it.
So, around like 2007, or maybe 2006. So I didn't like when YouTube first came out. I couldn't fuck with it because my computer, whatever profile I was using, didn't enable Flash. So, it was fucked up because like I remember I remember specifically Soulseek. This is one of my fondest memories of Soulseek. Remember Saxon Hammer?
What was it?
Saxon Hammer?
I don't know what that is. No.
Okay, so Saxon Hammer was like a member in Soulseek, and I remember like when Soulseek came out, like people would be like, "Ha, YouTube link, ha, YouTube link, lol, YouTube link," and I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, I can't like click on this shit, and I can't watch it. So it wasn't until like 2006 till like I had access to like, you know, YouTube. And at the time, dude, when my music, if you listen to my music is very like highly influenced by Bogdan Rosinski's melodies. Like I love like Bogdan Rosinski. To me, he's like the Daniel Johnston of like breakcore. He's like the romantic of like breakcore, I suppose you could say. And so like I was very definitely fond of like, you know, Bogdan Rosinski. And so around 2007, I met this dude on YouTube because I basically like
Bogdan Rudzinski. He was on Planet Mu, right? Mu.
He was on Reflex, dude.
Oh, Reflex. Yeah. His albums are really good. I remember that.
I love Bogdan. So I would constantly look for Bogdan content, and then I eventually came across his videos. I got in contact with him, and like he really liked my music, and I really enjoyed him for the simple fact that like he was like one of the, like the OG video game reviewers, and like to me when I saw his video about him like naming 5 random facts about himself, I was like, whoa, this guy is like basically like the best friend that I've never had. And if he lived down the street, like I would be at his house every day. Like this guy's fucking dope. Like he likes video games. He likes chiptune. He likes making breakcore like on Fruity Loops. He put Bogdan Rudzinski in his video, and he's talking about like video games and like his infatuation with like Japan.
He owns a Sega Saturn.
Exactly.
That's the kid you want to be friends with.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
Because you don't want to buy one, you just want to borrow one to play like 2 games, right?
So I used to call him, drunk around 2007, and just exchange like drunken phone calls. And around 2012, I got to meet him for the first time. And so this guy is he's an Aphex dedicated fan. And what I mean by that, so do you recall in like 2014 when Aphex had those listening parties and the raffle to like go to them?
Yeah, I think I heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so he won like an admission to LA, and he lived in Denver. He flew there like on a 2 days notice.
Oh wow!
To just listen to Aphex.
Huh.
So he loves Bogdan Rudzinski, and I knew that like I had like you ever met SkyMall or interacted with SkyMall or heard of SkyMall?
No, unfortunately not.
SkyMall's the homie. He has a really great radio show called the IDM Show.
Oh, cool.
And, hopefully we can link that somewhere.
So
SkyMall basically was Otto von Schirach's like roommate.
Oh,
and he used to live with Otto von Schirach like on his couch, and so like
I love Otto von Schirach.
He's great, dude.
Yeah, and everyone says I look like him. I don't know why. I don't find we look the same, but and Deucer told me that a couple of times. He said you really look like Otto von Schirach. I was like, oh, that's cool.
He's Cuban, and you're Colombian, so
that's what it is. I love papaya. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So dude. I got to meet my friend, and I forgot what I was talking about.
I'm sorry. Because he went to an Aphex Twin show, and then
So I my friend SkyMall basically was throwing this party at the Houston Day for Night festival, which featured Venetian Snares at the time. So Venetian Snares was going to be playing Houston in December of 2017. So he also booked Bogdan Rudzinski for a show that he was throwing. It was a Day for Night after party, and Bogdan Rudzinski was playing. So like I was like, I sent my friend the flyer, and I was like, I know that he's going to go to the show. And so like he hit me up, and he was like, I need to get in contact with you as soon as possible. Let me know when you're free. So when I got a hold of him, he was like, hey man, he's like, thanks for the flyer. I was like, are you going to go? He's like, yep. I was like, cool. He's like, are you going to go? I was like, no. He's like, why not? And I was like, why, dude? He's like, why? And I was like, cause Eric, I was like, I don't have a job, dude. Like, I don't have like, reliable source of income. He's like, what if I paid for it? And I was like, wait, what, dude? Like, you're down to like pay for me to go to like fucking Houston from Paris? And he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, find out like how much it costs and like find the cheapest way and we'll do it.
That's cool.
So, dude, I was on a bus to Houston for 35 hours.
Oh shit, that's fucking brutal. My dick shriveled like when you said that. Right? Oh god.
Right? But it was worth it. It was worth it, but it also fucking sucked. So check this out. Are you familiar with like
Greyhound?
Unfortunately,
yes.
Are you familiar with the Bogdan Rudzinski's Slash Attack video where he's like eating at a restaurant?
No.
Okay, so if you were like a fan of Bogdan Rudzinski, he used to like post like recipes on his website. Like he was basically like the OG like Instagram meal photographer where he would basically like document his videos or document his meals or whatever. And I remember like he would have challenges like on his website, like who could post like the best like food porn. And I remember like he liked one of mine, which was basically like I think grilled cheese sandwich and chili dog. I think
that's a good one though. That's a good combo.
So I had always thought to myself like, man, it would be fucking great if my fat ass could fucking like eat a meal with Bogdan Brzezinski. That would be fucking lush as fuck. So luckily enough for me, dude, Ed texted me while I was staying at a hotel in Houston. He's like, hey dude, he's like, I'm about to go to the airport to pick up Bogdan Brzezinski. He's like, you down to roll? And I was like, what? So I was like, yes, dude. I was like, let me ask my friend if he's okay with it. So I was like, hey, Eric. I was like, fucking Ed just invited me to like fucking go pick up Bogdan Brzezinski from the airport. I was like, are you cool with that? He's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, man, do it. Go for it. Yeah, do it. I was like, cool, great. So we showed up at the airport and we couldn't find him, dude. And I remember I was like, you know what? I was like, I really want to meet Bogdan. Like, I've always blown him up. I fucking love Bogdan, dude. His music, his album specifically, My Love I Love, was basically like the soundtrack to like, my broken heart, to where like, I would listen to that, and whenever I would crush over a girl and feel butthurt, I would listen to that album, and it was very soothing for me. It had like these really like nice melancholic kind of like music box kind of like themes, and it was nice, and it was beautiful to me.
Got you in the mood. What about Global Goon? You remember Global Goon?
Oh, dude, I was supposed to like do a remix for him, but like I fucked that up.
Love Global Goon. My God.
Yeah, dude, he's amazing. He's fucking
that's a great era too. That was a great era for IDM. I don't know what the fuck IDM is now, but Church of '09, Bogdan Brzezinski, Global Goon, freaking DMX Crew, like all that stuff. Yeah. So you're gonna meet this guy at the airport, and he's gonna make you a chili dog. Is that what happened?
No, dude, we pick him up, and he's a fucking cool guy, dude. Like, I remember like him, like I mentioned, like he's like, you guys been following this Trump thing, and I was like, no. I was like, usually like I'm obsessed with that shit, but like I decided to like give that up for this weekend because like I wanted to focus on this, like having a good time and not like having an existential crisis, And so like later, my fantasy came true, dude, because Ed took my homie and I out to eat, and Bogdan texted Ed, and Ed was like, hey, Bogdan wants to join us for pizza. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, Eric, did you hear what the fuck he did? He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I just heard. He's like, I know. I was like, holy shit, dude. I was like, dude, let's go in on a fucking pizza and like, let's find out what he's going to order on that pizza, dude. And he was like, yeah. He's like, I'm down. So I was kind of hoping to like have Bogdan show up and, like be cool with like us paying for a pizza for him. So that way we could see like what slices you get. So that way I can be like, I'm going to get the Bogdan Brzezinski pizza, and like, I'm just going to order what he does, And so, like, we eat pizza with him, dude, and I got to see him live. And when he was saying bye to everyone, he shook everyone's hand. And what stood out for me, dude, was the fact that, like, he shook my hand, but, like, I went to go shake his hand. But, like, when he went to approach me, dude, he, like, had this expression on his face that was like, come here, buddy. Like, he opened up his arms and, like, gave me a hug, dude. And I fucking really appreciated that, dude. It was great.
Yeah.
So that was my experience with like Greyhound and like, breakcore and like what that led to. I'm sorry for like rambling.
No, that's fine. There's one story that comes to mind that has to do with a famous IDM guy eating.
Yeah.
And it's, I was walking up Saint Laurent Street. It's like kind of around my apartment. And there's this burger place where it's like, as most restaurants do, they have a glass window on the front. And I was crossing the street, and it was right next door to Moog Audio, and this is a synthesizer place or whatever, yeah. And and there's a burger place right beside it called Burger Royale, and I'm walking towards it. I was like, that guy looks like Richard Devine, and I'm like staring at him intently because I'm just trying to, like the Larry David stare. I'm like, is that him?
Yeah. Oh,
and then he's like looking at me like, who is this fucking asshole staring at me while I'm eating like this burger? You know what I mean? And then I was like, I was with someone and I was like, I think that was Richard Devine. They're like, who? And I was like, just like a music guy. And then I'm walking up the street and it was just kind of weighing on me. I was like, I wonder if it was him, and then I Twittered or Googled or whatever. And I found out that he was in town. So I was like, oh, wow. I saw Richard Devine through a glass window eat a hamburger.
That is crazy, dude. That's fucking tight.
Yeah, I honestly, like, if I knew it was him, like, what am I going to do? Like, walk inside and be like, you don't know me at all, and you're trying to enjoy a burger. Like, what do I knock on the window or something? I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. It's a very random, like, IDM sighting.
That's cool.
Yeah,
dude, that's fucking rad.
Yeah, man, that's a cool story though. I like these little like stories of bus rides, 30-hour bus rides. Good Lord.
35. Oh yeah. The thing that sucks about that though, the down thing was that like I lost like my fucking wardrobe. Like I lost all my cool fucking shirts, my Aphex Twin custom shirt. Like, so I've basically been wearing like the same pair of pants for like a couple of years now.
Oh yeah.
And like, yeah. So like I probably should start like a Patreon.
Yeah. Do a Patreon. Why not? Yeah. You could.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. Okay. idmradio.com. That's the other link I'm going to throw on here. Ben, thank you for coming on, and thank you for being so gracious with your time. And yeah, for sure. I'd love to have you back on the podcast. I think what I'm going to do is, I think in a few episodes, I think I'm going to start having old guests on, but like pairing them up with like another person, so like they could like talk back and forth, but like cool pairings of like just like kind of like.
Let me do one with Sassy.
Oh my god,
that'd be so rad.
I didn't want to say it, but I was like, I don't know, because you guys had a similar thing going on. Yeah, for sure. I'll ask around. Well, fuck, the secret's out, so now I don't know. Maybe I'll edit that part out. We'll see what we could do. But yeah, take care. Is there anything else you want to add to this, or?
Yeah, William, it was a pleasure, dude. Allowing me to like have this platform and to like let your listeners find out who I am. Yeah, and I'm glad I got to find out a little bit about who you are, and I really appreciate you having me on the show. And it was a pleasure, dude. Getting to know you, man.
Awesome.
And
well, thank you.
It was a pleasure letting you know who I was.
Cool, excellent. That's like my nightmare, like getting close to people and having them know who I am. I just like yeah,
we're harmless.
Cool, right on. Cool. Thank you everybody for checking out this episode, and go follow Producer Snafu's Twitter, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Facebook, and yeah, check us out for another episode. Like, share, subscribe. I look for the likes and the shares. I'm sorry, I got to get this podcast up and running.
I look for the love, dude. I'm all about spreading love, dude. I'm all about loving shit. If I can love like your status or like love your shit, I'll do it.
Oh yeah, do us a love on Facebook. That's a good one. That's what I'm gonna say from now on. Cool, and take care, and goodbye everybody. Bye bye.
Much love, peace.